Okay, good morning. So today we are going to look at the last chapter of this semester or this class. We are going to look at the money, banking, and monetary policy. Okay. So in the last class, we have understand how fiscal policy works and why fiscal policy can help our economy, particularly when we in a recession or when the economy is in the fluctuation. Okay. And so now in this chapter, we are going to look at the different policy the government can use to stabilize our economy, namely the monetary policy. Okay. But before we understand monetary policy or how the monetary policy can help the economy, we need to understand what is money. And then so we need to understand what is money supply. And then toward the end, so we are going to study how the government or how the central bank can use their policy tools to stabilize the economy, right? So let's just start with money. Okay, what is money? So we have been using money every day. We probably have been talking about money every day. But what exactly is money? Okay. So first of all, money plays unique and very important role in modern economy. What does modern economy means? Meaning so the economy we are living today. So we are in the exchange economy, right? So now let's see, so what is money? First of all, money is defined as any asset that can easily be used to purchase goods and service. Okay, so there are a couple of things inside this definition. First, money is an asset, it's a financial assets. Okay, and secondly, it must be easily to be used. Okay, meaning so one way to understand that is so everybody will accept that. And the third, so we can use these to purchase goods and service. So we hold money is not necessarily means money itself has any value to us. Okay, so we hold money is because we need money as a tools or as a mediums, so we can use that to purchase goods and a service. All right. So in this background picture, so this is a particular form of money. So this probably is different from what you think about, right? So in this background, we show a piece of money has been used in history. In 1933, so that is after the Great Depression, okay? And also during the Great Depression, so we have lots of bank failures. So I mean, in a sense, so the bank collapsed. Okay, and the people lost confidence in the bank, or they lost the confidence for the money they issued by the bank. And then some U.S. town, particularly in a small town, so they instead use the money provided by the bank. They turn to homemade currency. Okay, like in this background picture shows, so they use clamshell to use the clamshell to purchase goods and a service. Right, so this is just an extreme form. Right. So now, before I explain to you in details what does money means and how what kind of assets can be counted as money, so let's look at a few concepts. First is currency in circulation. So that is cash held by the public. Just look at your wallet, or just look at your safe. So some cash you put in at home to for emergency use. So those are currency in circulation, right? Now the other concept is called checkable bank deposit. So this is bank account on which people can write check. Okay, so essentially that's a very liquid form of financial assets you have. Okay, so basically you can just use your check, or in these days you can use your debit card to pay any transaction you have. So this is slightly different from credit card, right? And the money supply is the total value of financial assets in the economy that are considered as money. Okay, but then the key here is what is money, right? So earlier in the previous slides, we said so money is any assets that can be easily used to purchase goods and service, right? So we talk about three things. First, it is assets. Secondly, it can easily be used. The third, so we use the money to purchase goods and service, right? So that's the purpose, right? And then the money supply is just total value of those financial assets, okay? And what about financial assets? Again, so those can be easily used to purchase goods and service, right? So this is money supply. Now, let's just dive into a little bit details to see, so what is money, okay? In order to be considered as money, and so these financial assets must function as the following, or more specifically, money must function as follows, right? What I just said is a financial asset because money is any assets, right? Okay, so and then you can just replace this money as assets. Any assets function as the following, and then it can be considered as money. Okay, first is medium of exchange. Okay, so we need these financial assets, or more specifically, we need money so that we can use that as a medium exchange to exchange what we need. And secondly, it must be a store of value, right? So you want to keep your value over time, right? So this money is going to help you to store the value you have. And the third is going to be a unit of account, okay? So now let's go one by one what this means. So medium of exchange. So it just says, so this something people accept as payment for goods and service. So just remember the early example I showed you, 1933, in a small town in California. So people abandoned the banknotes issued by those banks because they lost their confidence in those banks. Either it's a commercial bank or central bank. They lost confidence. And instead, they collectively decide use something the resident in the town they commonly accept, which is a clamshell, right? So and then so they use these clamshells as a medium exchange so that they can exchange for goods and service. Okay, so this is medium exchange, right? So an asset that individual accept for the purpose of trading rather than for their own consumption, right? So this is medium exchange, right? So we keep cash, so it's not for collection. So we keep cash is because we need cash for the purpose of trading, right? Yes, in reality, so people may keep a certain amount of cash for collection, like antique coins, right? But usually, so most of the times we keep cash just for the purpose of trading. Okay. The second function is a store of value. Right? So money is a means of holding purchasing power over time. But then, so certainty if there's an inflation or deflation, so then the money is going to lose its value, lose its mean, or so its ability to hold purchasing power over time will be affected, right? But in general, the money must function as store value so that we can hold the purchasing power over time, right? So this store value enables people to save the money that they earn today so that we can use the money to buy a good and service whenever you need, whenever you want, right? Particularly in the future time, right? So this store value. Now third, so the money must function as a unit of account, right? So why we need that? Just look at this background picture. So we go to the grocery store, right? So we use money as a medium exchange to get goods and the service we need. And then look at this background. So the orange says is $2.99. All right. And then so we need money so that can provide unit, right? So actually, so this $2.99 is just based on the unit we just used, right? So money provides a yardstick for measuring and comparing the value of a wide variety of goods and service. So that's why we need money. Okay, so we can compare apple versus orange, right? Okay, so now we have a sense what is money. To summarize, money is any financial assets that can easily be used to for you to purchase goods and service. So that's a definition. And then so in order to be considered as money, so these financial assets or any financial assets, so we are looking at must satisfy the following three functions. Number one is a medium exchange. Okay, so this is something people commonly accept. Number two, so it can store the value, okay, store the purchasing power over time. And then number three, it must use as a unit of account so that we can compare in different goods and service, right? So this is money. This is how we define money. Now let's look at the history of money or type of money. So the human society has been used or we have invented. Okay. So by the way, so before we have money, okay, and so the way we exchange is through barter. What that means is, so we just use goods, change for goods, right? Just think about in the farm, right? So you have farmers who grow up cows, and somebody else growing vegetables, and then somebody else just making tools, and then without money, what they're gonna do is, so we just exchange goods, right? So the people who has vegetables, they may want to eat some meat, and then they just go to someone who is growing, who has some cows, and then so exchange for meat. But then the problem could be, so whoever has cows, whoever have meat at the house, they may not need the vegetable the farmers who has. Then there's a problem, right? And then they may go to the third person, so who may have the need or the want, so that they can bridge the gap between the farmer who has vegetable but need meat, but then the other farmer who has meat but they need something else, right? So that's called barter economy. Now with money, so things get easier, right? So whoever has vegetable and need meat, so they are going to sell their vegetable in the market. As a return, so they get some money. And then with the money, they go to the farmer who has cow, who has meat, right? And then so the farmer who has meat, they happily sell their meat as the exchange. They get some money, because with the money they can buy whatever they need. Okay, so this is a benefit of money. Now look at the type of money we have been used and we have been invented throughout human history. The first type of money is called commodity money. So this is a good used as a medium exchange. Itself has intrinsic value. Okay, so let me just use examples. So in this background picture, so there are two particular commodity money has been used at a different time and different location. On the left hand side, so we see some prisons or prisoners. So they commonly accept cigarettes as currency. Now let's just remind yourself three functions money must serve: medium exchange, store value, and unit of account. Start with medium exchange. Okay. So in prison, so cigarettes, so as long as all of the prisoners they accept that, so that's good medium exchange. Store value. So if you keep keep this cigarette properly, it will last for a few months, I guess, at the minimum, right? So in that sense, just keep the value. Now, unit of account. So the cigarette, so you look at this picture, so they're identical, right? So in that sense, so you can just use the cigarette as a medium exchange to compare the value of goods and service. But certainly, so the cigarette as a money has its shortcoming. Okay? In the following two sense. Number one. So yes, it can serve as medium. It can serve as the store value, but it may not easily to store the value, right? So if we live in a humid area, and then so the cigarette may lose their value over time, right? Because or it's not easy to store the cigarette. On the other hand, so each cigarette looks identical, but you may have some goods and service, its value is lower than one cigarette. And then so it becomes difficult to measuring the value of the particular goods and service. Or in other words, so the cigarette may not divisible so that you can measure in some small goods and service you want to purchase or you want to trade. Okay, so this is cigarette. Now on the right hand side, so we have another interesting examples. Okay, so in these islands, so people use this big round stone as money, and certainly, so it satisfies the three functions we just talked about: medium exchange, as long as people accept that; store value, so this probably is much better than the cigarette to store the value. But third, unit of account, so it looks like identical, right? So you can use this stone to measure in the value of different goods and services. But now, so this stone has this problem in terms of serving the function of money, right? So in the sense, it's even more difficult to value a small goods and service, right? Because you may not easily to divide this stone, and particularly once you divide this stone into small pieces, and then so that's going to lose its value, right? The other things I want to say is, so both the cigarette or the stone we saw on this background picture, so they consider as commodity money in the sense, besides they can serve the three functions as I just explained, themselves has intrinsic value, like cigarette. Okay, so whoever smoke, so this cigarette can give them some benefit, or so they can derive some utility from the cigarette itself. On the right hand side, those stones, so you can see, so themselves can be used as building block. Okay, it is useful. So this is commodity of money. But then, so from here, we can see the commodity of money has its shortcoming. Like, say, for example, it's not infinitely divisible in the sense it becomes difficult to measuring the goods, the value of goods and the service, or it's not a perfect unit of account. On the other hand, so it may not easy to store the value. And in terms of the stone, so it becomes tedious or it becomes onerous if we want to do a long distance trade. Just imagine how are you going to carry those stones around so that you can buy goods and service on other island, right? And then we move to the next generation. Oh, by the way, so before I move to next generation, let's just back to these slides again. So in human history, so at some point, so people use salt as money. And then you can see the salt solve some of the problem. In a sense, salt can be infinitely divisible. So that's a better unit of account. But then salt is more difficult to store, right? Just think about, so if there's some rain or there's some flood, and then so your salt will be in danger, right? Now we move to the second type of money. Okay? It's called commodity-backed money. Now, what's the difference? So we are going to have some money in a modern form, like in this background picture shows, right? So this medium exchange or the money we use itself has no intrinsic value, like this piece of paper. Okay, it has no intrinsic value, meaning so besides use as medium exchange, there's no use for you at all. Okay, but however, different from the modern form of money or similar to the commodity money we have. Okay, so this piece of paper will be supported or will be guaranteed by a promise. Okay, what is a promise? If you read this piece of paper more carefully, you can see, so if you hold a piece of this paper, and then, so this piece of paper is going to guarantee that whenever you need or whenever you want, you can get certain amount of valuable goods. In this case, is silver. Okay, so you just go to the counter of any bank as you wish. So the bank must give you certain amount of silver. Okay, but silver itself has value. Silver itself is a commodity, right? So now let's just see. Let me just summarize what's the difference. The difference from commodity money is that so you don't need keep the commodity. You just keep this piece of paper. This piece of paper guarantee so you have the right to get certain amount of commodity as you wish. All right? So this is commodity backed money. But this commodity backed money is different from the money we are going to see in the next picture, in the next slide. Okay? In the next slides, we are going to see more modern form, so without the back of commodity. Now let's go to the next slide. Okay. It's called fiat money. So what is fiat money? The fiat money is the money whose value derive completely from its official status. Okay, from its status, but there's no money to back. Okay, there's no commodity to back the value of the value of this money, right? Like if you read this careful, essentially it just says, okay, so everyone must accept this money, right? So there's a official status, so for this money, okay, it's different from the commodity backed money, because in the commodity backed money, what we need is so you have certain amount of commodity to back this money, right? So that's the difference. Okay. Now, so you may want to think about these questions during the break. Okay, how would the economy be different if we use only local currency? Like, say, for example, in Omaha, we use one type of money, and then so in Council Bluff, we are going to use different type. So how would that make our life different? Okay, so and from discussion, you should also realize. So you should also realize the money is very important. It's kind of facilitate the trading. It's going to smooth our transaction in modern economy, right? Right, so now we have understand what is money, right? And by looking at the functions and by looking at different type of money we have been used today or in modern economy, okay? So now let's look at money aggregate, okay? So what is money aggregate? The money aggregate is the overall measure of money supply. And in reality, so there are different ways to look at this money supply. But for this class, we are going to look at M1 and M2. So essentially, it's just two different definitions, but with different scope. Okay. Now let's just look at what the money supply looks like. Let's just skip this one. Let's look at here. Okay, money aggregate. So here we just show you, I'm going to show you two type of money supply definitions. One is M1, the other is M2. Let's start with M1. So in M1, it includes currency in circulation. That's just the money you put in your wallet, the money you leave in your shoebox, the money you put in your house for emergency use. So this currency in circulation. And beside that, so we also have checkable bank deposit. So essentially it's the money you put in your checking account, right? And so you can use anytime. either through writing a check or by swipe your debit card in the grocery store. Right? So those are very liquid because you can use anytime you need. And also there's a small tiny amount of M1, which is called traveler's check. So you can think about this as a cashier's check. Okay? So it's equivalent to cash. Okay? Why there is a traveler's check? It's just because in some case, it's not safe to carry a big amount of money. But then, so the sellers may not trust your personal check. And then they need a third party to write a traveler's check. So make sure, so the check or the money is guaranteed. Okay, so this is M1. And from those three type of M1, you can see it just includes most liquid. Okay, it's most liquid type of money. Now we go to M2. And then what is M2? So first of all, M2 is a broader category. Okay, it includes M1. And furthermore, it includes saving deposit, which is money you have in your saving account, right? It's very similar to the money in your checking account, but it just takes a little effort to withdraw your money from saving account to checking account. And also usually you may want to pay a cost because saving account or saving deposit, usually there's a fixed term, either is a month or a few months. Okay, so this saving deposit. But anyway, so that's the money in the considered as money aggregate. Right, and then so we have money market fund, which is usually you put in your stock exchange account. And then we have time deposit. So this is more like a fixed saving. Okay. All right. Now let's just look at these practice questions. Which of the following assets would you classify as being most liquid? Let's just look at something apparently is not liquid, right? A home. Home has value, but this is not liquid, right? Because usually take time to sell your house so that you can get the money from the house, right? So it's not liquid. Gold bullion, okay? So in modern days, this is not liquid because usually no one is going to accept your gold as money, right? But certainly you can sell your gold on the market so that you can use the money you acquired to buy goods and services you want. So gold is not liquid. Now, what is the difference between demand deposit and small time deposit? So demand deposit just means so you can use your money in your account, in your bank account, as you wish, as you demand. Small time deposit, it's just a deposit with a fixed term or fixed saving time, right? But usually small, maybe like a month or 2 weeks. Okay, now given this explanation is clear, demand deposit is the most liquid among these four types of financial assets, right? Now we understand money. We just learned what is money aggregate or how we calculate money aggregate. Next, we are going to study our questions. Okay. So only half of M1 is currency. Where does the rest of the money supply come from? So this is coming from the definition of money aggregate. Okay. The answer to this question is as follows. Bank deposit make up half of M1 and most of M2. And then there are another questions. How does the banking system create money? So this is very important in the following few sense. First, so if we understand how banking system creates money, so we understand how we get this money supply. And number two, if we understand how banking system create money, and then so we will understand how the central bank can regulate this banking system. And furthermore, so how the central bank can stabilize our economic fluctuation by regulating banking system. Right? Through those discussions, we will see these are some fundamental issues in the banking system or in the financial system. So that calls for the regulation from the central bank. Okay, but we will see from those discussions. Okay. Let's start with the business model for bank, or how bank work, what bank do. Okay. Bank in the modern day, they are considered financial intermediaries that use liquid assets to finance illiquid investment of borrowers. So what that means? What is liquid assets? Just means you have some money. Okay, so you want to save, and you don't want to spend all of your money because you want to save for your future, right? Either for to pay for your tuition, or to pay for medical bills, or for your retirement. Okay, and then so the assets you have is very liquid because you have cash. You want to leave aside. But on the other hand, in the market or in our economy, so we have people who has very illiquid investment. Think about, say, for example, so they have a big project to fix, okay, and then so usually so this project take a while, okay, and then how they are going to do so we need a bank, right? So the bank is going to bridge the gap between sellers and the buyers, okay, and the sellers. So the sellers essentially is who has liquid assets, and the buyers essentially is just who has some illiquid investment. They need money, okay, and the bank is going to link these two so that they can so that the money is going to channel through from whoever has liquid assets to whoever has illiquid investment. All right. Okay. So let's just take a break and then we continue our discussion.